And how are we going for time? 11:51.
16.
Sorry?
Doing number 16. And then
Yep. So we've got implementing the City to Sea pathway, item number 16. And we've had a deputation in relation to that as well. And Andrew, would you like to introduce this?
Thank you. I think all councillors are well versed in the topic. I am going to do a little bit of a summary though, so bear with me, which is not too specific. But I really just want to highlight that the report in front of you represents a really significant milestone. We've been, I guess, responsible for this land for a little over 12 months in this 10-year journey. And we're at the point where we're signalling to the community that we're moving forward. When the plan was released approximately 2 years ago, actually, the regeneration plan foresaw the City to Sea pathway occurring in the medium term, or phase 2, but called it but said, and it's a quote, early construction of the City to Sea pathway is considered critical to catalysing the area. So, you know, arguably the plan is a 30-year plan. It's always been talked about as a 30-year plan. So, you know, I think council and the staff, and I'm very proud of my team who have only been on board, you know, Brendan and Dave, for just on a year, how much hard work has gone into getting us to this point. And I think it's really important to acknowledge that. We're getting feedback from the community who have been very engaged, you know, with the ORAC for 10 years. Can you hurry up and get on with the bits you can get on with? Now, we know there are constraints. Lynn's studiously working through the land amalgamation process, which is arduous. But I believe we've progressed very well. We're running work streams in parallel so that when we do get that land, we should have a very seamless process of implementation of the expectations of the community. So, again, this I just want to thank both my team and the other teams, Transport and Three Waters, that have been involved, working behind the scenes very, very hard on this. So today, fundamentally, there are two decisions for council to make. And you've heard from the Flatwater community sports fraternity many times. So they would like us to progress the analysis of their proposal and to formally stop and eventually close. And I highlight that word eventually. We're not going to run out and shut roads, but when it's time, we will. Adjacent to the river in the Avonside Drive area. With respect to the Flatwater sports facilities, I'm not sure if it's how well known the plan is, but the plan specifically allows for, and I'm going to quote again, provides for such a facility to be assessed and consented if found to be consistent with the planning framework. And that's the decision, is to get to that point, to see if it's actually can be achieved. And I think we heard this morning that the clubs have been waiting a very long time for some certainty. Road stopping is in two parts. The recommendation A is consistent with the regen plan. It was always signalled that the first part of Avonside Drive would stop. It was heavily consulted through the regeneration plan, and that was put in place, and it's also in place in the district plan. So we're just asking you, with the information that we've presented about cost avoidance, to stamp that decision. With respect to the other stopping initiatives and eventual closure, that came about through detailed analysis of the work that Dave and the Transport and the Three Waters team have been working on to get the best result without significant impact on the local community. Now, I think everyone's aware that pre-engagement has commenced, so we've had a first session, and I'll just touch on, Councillor Johansson has queried, you know, what happened in that in those sessions. So 200 flyers were sent out to the immediate local residents. 16 turned up to the drop-in session, and there were approximately 20 people have communicated. And I mentioned, I've mentioned previously, as Brendan did at the previous briefing, that there was initial, I guess, a little bit of anxiety about change. But once it was explained what the change was, what it involved, the time frame for change, which is multiple years, it's not immediate, a lot of those concerns were washed away. And in fact, people were quite clear that they were supportive of regeneration. In terms of the road stopping, they felt that some of the behavioural issues around fly tipping and speed may be helped as well. Probably one concern that was highlighted was Kerrs Road residents being a little bit concerned that all the traffic that would go into the Porritt Park Kerrs Reach car park now would have to go down Kerrs Reach rather than some of them using Avonside Drive. Well, I guess if we look at the proposal that Flatwater have put, well, that traffic, their traffic is going to potentially go to the other side and come in off Gayhurst Road. But the way the regeneration plan was left, all of the traffic to get on to the remaining open part of Avonside Drive was to divert through Kerrs Road. So in fact, it will reduce traffic in their area rather than increase. So finally, I'd like to thank Hayley Giulietta in particular and the Avon Atakaro Network for the constant energy that they pour in and the way that they collaborate and work with Brendan in particular and the team to make sure we're reaching as many people as possible weekly as we progress and start to implement these initiatives. So that's it from me. So it's over to the substantive report and any questions, and I'll swap myself out with Dave now for any questions that may arise.
Well, I just have this amendment note that redesign of the park will be developed and consulted on in the future. Is that covers what will happen in the future, or do you need it to say note that? Yes, and Councillor Johansson and I and we caught up just during the break and. Yeah. Just to touch on the opportunities, so we're seeking approval of a route. We'll be going into a concept development through the preliminary design processes. In particular for Avon Park, there'll need to be a change to the status of that land, so that will trigger its own consultation process. Right. And there'll be an additional consultation process around that community for the redevelopment of the park that will occur. And there's ample time. You know, we're not rushing in and building a pathway. You know, there's years of time to engage appropriately with all of the individual communities, and that's always been the intent. You'll see in the plan the different sectors in one of the attachments. Yeah. They represent community sectors that will engage with all of them about the detail of how they would like to see the exact positioning and how their communities can best understand and influence the final design. So is it better to maybe reframe that to say that note that any future redesign of the park will trigger its own consultation requirements? Yes, it probably would be. Yeah. That is factually correct. Yeah. It will. Okay. It will have to. Yes. Right. Okay. So that's all right. Well, I'm really happy to move that. I'm quite excited about it. So, and do I have a seconder for it, Sarah? Pauline, question.
Yeah, just a process question that in 4, when we're being asked to stop the following roads, but then following consultation. So we're making a decision before the consultation. And I know that you've got it covered there, but to me it doesn't. Why can we not wait and stop the roads after the consultation? No, it would mean you'd have to come back.
Yeah, it could be lost in the wording. Yeah, apologies. The wording was directly from Robert in legal, who deals with road stopping. So
I just don't know that we can really make a decision.
So if you make a decision now to stop those roads, I guess it could be a little bit clumsy in the wording. We're asking you to instruct staff to stop the roads, but
it will trigger a public consultation process. So in essence, you have an opportunity, if there was overwhelming sort of feedback that this should not happen, that you could essentially rescind that.
Yeah, I know.
But all the indicators are,
But the mere fact of making the decision before the consultation is predetermined. So I'd sort of...
well, it really depends on the consultation. The legal requirement is for us to let people know that we're going to stop the road. So, Ed?
Make it subject to appropriate consultation, maybe.
Yeah, so the advice is make it subject to appropriate
Yeah, but
consultation.
we're still
Or
making...
make the decision in principle, you know, subject to.
That's
public
still leading the
consultation.
consultation.
Eh?
That's still leading the consultation. I think we're probably better off to take B and C out and bring them back after the consultation. Personally,
Don't you go out with a proposal?
yeah, just resolve.
So,
to consolidate
well,
with
it
the
really
proposal.
comes down, I guess, to how council consider it. Consultation can literally be, we are informing that we are closing the road.
That's
It can be at that
engagement.
end of the spectrum. This is Local Government Act consultation, right through to the other end of the spectrum of doing exactly what the public tell us.
Are we intending just to let people know as our consultation?
Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Sorry, are we then just intending to let people know that we're doing it as our consultation?
That
It's
was
just
our intent.
That's your,
Their intent was to clearly let people know and seek their feedback.
So that's engagement, really. Consultation.
Well,
is
this is the
actually-
advice I've been given by Robert.
consultation. Normally, you have options as well.
You can
Why
go
don't we
out.
just-
You can go out with
and
a
consult
proposal.
on closing.
You can
the
go
road.
out with a
The
proposal.
proposal is to close the road.
Right.
You
Yes.
don't need options.
You don't,
The
yeah.
option is close the road or not
No,
close
no,
the road.
no. The number 4 reads that we're being asked to decide now. We're going to stop the road
Yeah.
following public consultation. That's
We
not,
haven't done a road stopping for a while.
It's not-
This is the standard format
Is
Yes.
it?
resolution for it. The only difference here is that the first one doesn't have a public consultation
Yeah, I appreciate
requirement
that.
because that's already been done through the regeneration plan.
So because it's a road stopping, it's a different process than a normal consultation.
There's two
a road
two
stopping
mechanisms to stop roads. One's the Public Works Act and one's the Local Government Act.
Right.
I've been advised that this process is well, it's actually different again. We're using the Regeneration Act, or the powers in the Regeneration Act.
Yeah.
So we're effectively, because we're trying to avoid a huge amount of cost associated.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is I've asked the question and I'm being reassured by staff this is the correct and okay process because it's a road stopping and it's under the local government.
That's what I
Acts.
have been advised by our legal team.
Yep, okay.
Yeah, Sarah?
it's one of those things where, because we use that same term consultation for things where we really do want to make changes and we really do want feedback before we do something, it's one of those things where the community will ask whether the consultation's in good faith, whether their feedback will be taken into account if we've already made an in-principle decision to do the thing.
Yep.
And as we've discussed earlier, while it says that we are asking them to do it following consultation, the next resolution actually says that we want the consultation before we make a request. And yet the resolution before it says let's request it now and then consult.
Yes, so the intent there was, again, as I said earlier, that if the feedback clearly was so significant that council felt uncomfortable, they could change their position.
Okay.
You then have to revoke the decision that we make today if that was the case.
We could, I guess we could amend C to, rather than say public consultation, public notice.
Yeah, B and C.
B and C,
Yeah, there's
following appropriate public notice.
Yeah, it is a procedural thing.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
a procedure
It's
all
how
written
people
out
see it.
on the website
Yeah.
that explains circumstances for proceeding with road stopping. It explains the difference between road stopping and road closure.
Yeah.
So can we change that word out to notice then? Because that makes it clearer to everybody. Consultation raises
Yes.
various expectations, doesn't
Yeah.
it? Because I think Leanne captured the answer. Road stopping is a special process. That's better.
I have a different question, not on this.
Yeah, well,
but I'm
Yanni was
wait till it's-
next,
yeah.
so.
Just under resolution number 1, that we're approving the proposed CDC pathway route request staff progress design and implementation. I just wondered if we could incorporate consultation and engagement in that resolution, so it's just really clear that there will be going forward. I mean, I've heard that staff say that that's what we're going to have to do anyway, but I just think it would be good for the community just to give that signal in that resolution. After the word design, just add consultation and engagement.
Do you want some staff advice on that? What do you?
The advice that we've had is that we're going to have to do that, and I just wondered if we could just have a small amendment to make sure that that was recorded in the resolution.
Yeah, no problem with that. Yep.
Can I just make sorry. It's kind of relevant to Councillor Cotter's comment here. It really comes down to what the expectation of consultation and engagement is.
Community
We're
engagement
not
would
going to
be
go
better for
out
this.
with 20-something sector plans for public consultation feedback before we do anything. We are absolutely going to engage. We've been engaging all the way through this process and involving the community in every element of it, and that will continue. But we're not going to break this into a whole lot of little bits and have an incongruous development depending on the whims, sorry to sound so blunt about this, but of individuals within a community. It will not get built. So we need to understand the word consultation in this context.
Can we just use community engagement?
We've changed it.
Can you put community engagement? Yeah.
Yeah. And I just reiterate, every time we go near the community, we get told they're sick of consultation, they want
I know
things to happen.
the regeneration plan has been consulted on. I think we can take great comfort from
But
that
the Avon Park
because it
design
went through
was
the
not.
best. This is not the Avon. It isn't the Avon Park issue.
So the CDC pathway, the design currently proposed being put forward goes straight through Avon Park.
We've
already got Avon
a
Park
separate
covered.
resolution about the park.
We've got the note for Avon Park.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Are there any more questions, Sarah?
Thanks so much. I mean, this is amazing. So pleased to see this finally progressing. There's been lots of work with stakeholders and those who are really interested in the developments and those kind of things around the Tokoro Avon River Corridor. Still need a new proper name for it. But there's a whole pile of people who use that space in sort of passive recreation, dog walking, those kind of things, who aren't engaged in those kind of stakeholder processes because that's not what they do, who are feeling a significant amount of attachment and ownership of those big, wide, open green spaces. And there's starting to be some rumblings about them not wanting development because they just see it as a big dog park, for example. So what sort of engagement or signage or something are we putting up in those spaces to let people know what's planned for those areas so they can see what is coming, and that it was always planned to be, if you like, so it's not,
There's probably a couple of different ways that are in train at the moment. Largely, and you'll be pleased to hear that we've got now a real significant council presence in the red zone. So in the past, we've had contractors who have been, efficient at what they do, but our guys now have a much greater ownership of it. So all our staff are fully briefed on what the concept plans are for the future. So our PGMOs and our rangers are out there talking to these people every single day. It'll be happening right now. I encourage my guys to stop and have a coffee and not necessarily stop, but take that moment and explain what's going on. So through the staff interaction, that's significant. We have a lot of the digital channels which are available too. So through the formal council digital channels, that's quite often we get feedback through there, but also informally through networks like Avon and Forest Park and those other groups, the community groups we deal with, have quite wide reach there also. There is some signage out there. We could put signs on everything, it'll look hideous. We can have no signs and people complain.
I was going to recommend you for red zone to green zone. This wetland restoration area is not mowed. Expect to see long grass. Christchurch City Council. Fantastic.
Yep.
That's exactly what Sarah's talking about. Just let people know what's happening.
Yeah, and we are doing that. And we're not going to put signs up everywhere though. So there's a mixture of all of those things.
This sign has made a lot of people very happy. It's been shared many times on Facebook.
Great. Yep. So a mixture of all of those things, and trying to capture every single person, of course, is impossible. So we think we're getting reasonable cut through on those people, and I'm reasonably confident that the feedback we're getting is all pointing towards where we should be going anyway. The ecological restoration, which many of these people want, is largely what will be delivered.
Yep. All right. We'll move on to the debate. So I'm happy to kick that off. I'm just really excited about this. This is a major milestone, and I think we should be celebrating it. We've got two major initiatives, that pathway from the city to the sea, which was always what we kind of could see was going to be an incredible legacy of the red zone becoming the green zone. The Otakaro Avon River corridor, and now our vision of an Otakaro Avon River sanctuary. It's got everything going for it. It's going to really transform that whole environment for people's enjoyment and connecting again with nature. The conversation about the river is going to be one that will bring ecological values to the fore. And I was really impressed with the way the sports groups had come together and put that at the centre of their thinking in relation to the future of the river as well. So I just am really excited about the potential for this area and what it will mean for the city as a whole. So thank you to the team for all of the work that you've done. No? All right.
I'm a local councillor for the area. I find that quite insulting, actually, that the local councillor for the area gets derided for wanting to speak on something that's happening in his area. But look, just to say that, like the staff, in the recent over the past year, the presentations that we've had on the development of the red zone, I think, have been outstanding at the workshops and the briefings. We've had a lot of information, and you've laid out a really clear process to go forward, which I think is really helpful. I do think this is also part of symbol of the whole layers of bureaucracy in terms of the post-earthquake function that we sit in, with different pieces of legislation, different bodies making decisions that tend to kind of overcomplicate getting something done. So I appreciate that we've got separate parts of the puzzle that have to be done in different ways, but ultimately it is quite confusing to not just have a plan, engage on that plan, and then get it done, which is traditionally what council would have done in the past. So, but I think this is, as has been said, a really exciting opportunity to get better environmental outcomes, to get better amenity outcomes for an area of the city that, has in some ways felt forgotten at times. And, I can send around people the information about Avonside in the press not too long ago, where people did actually talk through to how they felt in that community. What's really important is to acknowledge that this is a community that you do need to really engage with at a local level. It's just really important. And while I appreciate that this is a citywide project, there also are local impacts that need to be taken seriously. And the more we can get local people involved in the process, the better success and outcome we will have. I just remind councillors of some of the planning work that was done in Shirley and also in Aranui around community renewal. This is an area that has a huge number of state houses and community houses and, council or trust housing. So there are some opportunities in parallel, given that we've got time, to really think about how we can get really good community outcomes across not just the environment, but also some of the other issues in this area. So I look forward to that work progressing. I look forward to the engagement with the community. I think this will be a really positive thing going forward, but we also do need to be mindful of the existing community and that they participate in what we're doing rather than simply have things done to them. So I think staff have given an assurance that is certainly their intention, and I welcome that, and I look forward to this progressing. Thank you.
Bill?
Yeah, thanks. I'll support this all the way. This is the best thing that's ever happened to this part of the area. And because I used to do rowing in my past life, and it wasn't very much fun down there when all the other guys were there. But if it gets waka and canoeing and all of those other flat water sports here, they'll have more competitions, and it will bring more people to Christchurch. So it's win-win all over the place. So I'll be supporting this all the way. Thank you.
Thank you. Anne?
I also think this is a day to celebrate, because this is, as Yanni said, it's been like a very complex puzzle to try and bring many different bits together. So well done. And today we're going to give confidence to the community that actually something is happening now, and we're going to move forward, and it's going to be a fantastic legacy for all of us to enjoy. So thanks for your work, and it's great that this is happening today. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. That's carried. Thank you very much. Thank you. So do we have